From coal country to concrete, Kentucky's test is tough. Like, subscribe, and let's go.
Question 1. If your vehicle has a dual air brake system, each system typically operates the front or rear brakes. True or false? True. A dual air brake system splits into two subsystems, one for the front brakes and one for the rear, to ensure redundancy and safety. Question 2. Retarders are safe to use on wet or icy roads because they provide additional stopping power. True or false? False. Retarders can cause drive wheels to skid on slippery roads and should be turned off in such conditions to avoid losing traction. Question 3. An automatic slack adjuster needs to be checked and manually adjusted every 2,500 miles. True or false? False. Automatic slack adjusters typically self-adjust, but they must still be inspected regularly. Frequent manual adjustment may indicate mechanical issues. Question 4. It is required to carry spare fuses unless the vehicle is equipped with circuit breakers. True or false? True. If your vehicle uses fuses, you must carry at least one spare for each type and size used on board. Question 5. The total stopping distance of a vehicle is the sum of perception distance, reaction distance, and braking distance. True or false? True. Stopping distance depends on the time it takes to perceive the hazard, react, and bring the vehicle to a full stop. Question 6. When transporting hazardous materials, the driver may never leave the vehicle unattended under any circumstances. True or false? False. Drivers may leave the vehicle if it's properly secured and parked according to regulations, and materials do not require constant attendance. Question 7. You can safely inspect the engine compartment while the engine is running if you avoid touching moving parts. True or false? False. Engine inspections should be conducted with the engine off to avoid serious injury from moving parts or high temperatures. Question 8. If your vehicle's ABS light stays on after startup, the ABS is working correctly. True or false? False. A constantly lit ABS light indicates a malfunction, and while brakes still work, the ABS feature is not functioning properly. Question 9. In Kentucky, you must pass a vision exam, general knowledge test, and any applicable endorsement exams before receiving your CDL. True or false? True. All CDL applicants must meet these minimum testing requirements before obtaining a commercial license in Kentucky. Question 10. A truck loaded with a sealed, legal load can bypass weight limits at scales. True or false? False. Sealed or not, all commercial vehicles are subject to weight limits and must stop at weigh stations when directed. Question 11. Front-wheel brakes are especially effective on icy roads. True or false? False. On icy roads, front-wheel braking can lead to skidding. Care must be taken to avoid locking them. Question 12. A driver must always use the right lane when crossing a railroad track. True or false? False. There is no universal rule requiring the right lane. Proper approach involves reducing speed, using hazard lights, and following signage or local law. Question 13. Drivers should downshift before entering a curve to avoid shifting while turning. True or false? True. Downshifting before a curve allows better control and prevents power loss or gear grinding while turning. Question 14. The only thing needed to check for hydraulic brake leaks is applying the brake pedal and waiting. True or false? False. You must also monitor for fluid movement, warning lights, and possible pedal fade to fully assess hydraulic brake condition. Question 15. It is acceptable to use water in the windshield washer reservoir in warm weather. True or false? True. Water can be used in non-freezing conditions, but commercial vehicles should ideally use proper washer fluid to maintain visibility. Question 16. You should begin turning the steering wheel just as your rear trailer wheels pass the inside of a curve. True or false? False. You begin turning earlier than the trailer wheels to compensate for off-tracking, especially in tight turns. Question 17. Hazardous materials regulations apply only to interstate carriers. True or false? False. These regulations apply to both interstate and intrastate carriers when transporting federally classified hazardous materials. Question 18. Overhead clearance signs always reflect the current height under the bridge. True or false? False. Road repairs or repaving can reduce clearance, making posted heights inaccurate in some situations. Question 19. A CDL holder must notify their employer of any traffic violation, except parking violations, within 30 days. True or false? True. CDL holders are federally required to report non-parking traffic offenses to their employer within 30 days. Question 20. When checking mirrors during a lane change, you only need to look once before switching lanes. True or false? False. Continuous mirror checks are necessary throughout the maneuver to monitor blind spots and approaching vehicles. Question 21. In a double clutch method, you release the clutch only once per gear change. True or false? False. Double clutching involves pressing the clutch twice, once to shift into neutral and once to shift into the target gear. Question 22. The emergency brake system uses parts of the service and parking brake systems to apply brakes when air pressure is lost. True or false? True. Emergency brakes rely on spring pressure to automatically engage if the air system fails. Question 23. The minimum tread depth for front tires on a commercial vehicle is 4/32 of an inch. True or false? True. Federal and state regulations require front tires to have at least 4/32 inch tread for safe operation. Question 24. When you are backing a trailer, turning the top of the steering wheel to the left will make the trailer move right. True or false? True. Trailer movement is opposite of the steering wheel direction while backing, requiring practice and control. Question 25. Air brake lag time is longer than hydraulic brake lag time. True or false? True. Air brakes have a delay, typically about half a second, due to air movement through lines, unlike hydraulic systems. Question 26. You can legally drive a CMV with alcohol in your system if it's below 0.04% BAC. True or false? False. Commercial drivers may not operate a CMV with any detectable alcohol level. 0.04% BAC or higher results in disqualification, and anything above 0.00% is subject to out-of-service penalties. Question 27. A converter dolly has a fifth wheel and is used to connect additional trailers to a tractor. True or false? True. The converter dolly is a key piece of equipment that allows the connection of a second or third trailer using a fifth wheel coupling. Question 28. When transporting passengers, you may allow them to stand on the bus while it's in motion. True or false? False. Passengers must remain seated while the vehicle is moving unless the bus is specifically designed for standees, such as transit buses. Question 29. Placards must be visible from only the rear of the vehicle when transporting hazardous materials. True or false? False. Placards must be visible from all four sides, front, rear, and both sides of the vehicle. Question 30. You should turn on your four-way flashers when parked on the roadside to warn other drivers. True or false? True. Hazard lights increase visibility and are required when parked on the shoulder or roadside, especially during emergency stops. Question 31. It is legal to use a radar detector in a commercial motor vehicle in Kentucky. True or false? False. Federal law prohibits the use of radar detectors in CMVs engaged in interstate commerce. Question 32. In a manual transmission CMV, coasting downhill in neutral is safe as long as brakes are functional. True or false? False. Coasting in neutral is dangerous and illegal. It reduces driver control and increases stopping distance. Question 33. A driver must inspect their cargo only at the beginning of the trip. True or false? False. Cargo must be inspected before the trip, within the first 50 miles, and periodically throughout the trip. Question 34. Bridge formula laws prevent overloading on a bridge by spreading weight evenly over a greater distance. True or false? True. The federal bridge formula helps limit axle weights based on spacing to protect infrastructure and ensure safety. Question 35. If your trailer goes into a skid, you should apply the trailer hand valve to straighten it out. True or false? False. Using the trailer hand valve in a skid can worsen the jackknife. You should release the brakes and steer gently in the direction of the skid. Question 36. When driving a tank vehicle, surge can affect handling, especially when braking or accelerating. True or false? True. Liquid surge causes forward and backward motion, affecting vehicle stability and braking effectiveness. Question 37. When turning right with a long vehicle, you should keep the rear of the trailer close to the curb to avoid off-tracking. True or false? True. Keeping the rear close to the curb helps prevent other drivers from attempting to pass on the right and reduces the risk of hitting obstacles. Question 38. Hazardous materials can be transported without placards if the vehicle is traveling interstate only. True or false? False. Placard requirements apply to both interstate and intrastate transport if thresholds are met. Question 39. You must always use wheel chocks when parking on a downgrade, even if spring brakes are applied. True or false? True. Wheel chocks are an extra layer of safety on grades and are required under certain conditions to prevent vehicle movement. Question 40. Excessive use of the service brakes on long downgrades can lead to brake fade or failure. True or false? True. Overheating from continuous brake use can reduce friction and result in brake system failure. Question 41. The stab braking technique involves pumping the brake pedal rapidly to prevent locking. True or false? False. Stab braking requires fully applying the brakes, releasing when wheels lock, and reapplying once they start rolling, not rapid pumping. Question 42. A driver transporting hazardous materials must have a CDL with a hazmat endorsement and carry shipping papers at all times. True or false? True. Proper documentation and endorsements are required by law when transporting any quantity of hazardous materials. Question 43. Steam coming from under the hood may indicate overheating, but the vehicle is still safe to drive. True or false? False. Steam is a warning sign of possible engine overheating or coolant system failure, requiring immediate attention. Question 44. The purpose of a pre-trip inspection is to identify minor issues that can be fixed after the trip. True or false? False. A pre-trip inspection identifies safety-critical problems that must be addressed before the vehicle is driven. Question 45. In a CMV, the only reason to downshift is to increase speed. True or false? False. Downshifting is used to increase control, particularly when descending grades or preparing for turns, not to increase speed. Question 46. The suspension system supports the weight of the vehicle and keeps the axles in place. True or false? True. Suspension components absorb shocks, support the load, and help maintain axle alignment for stability. Question 47. In double/triple trailer combinations, the rear trailer is the most likely to jackknife. True or false? True. The rear trailer is less stable due to its distance from the tractor and greater tendency to swing. Question 48. Passenger vehicle drivers may refuel the bus while passengers are on board. True or false? False. Refueling while passengers are on board is prohibited unless absolutely necessary and permitted by state regulations. Question 49. A CDL can be revoked for using a CMV in the commission of a felony involving controlled substances. True or false? True. This is a federal disqualifying offense and can result in lifetime revocation of CDL privileges. Question 50. If air pressure drops below the specified threshold, spring brakes will automatically apply. True or false? True. Spring brakes are designed to engage when air pressure drops below 20 to 45 psi as a safety mechanism.
Another step closer to passing. Stay on a roll with more practice or download the cheat sheet and lock it all in.